offers and who also has made available high-tech, but also affordable clean technologies. For us, clean technologies are energy, materials, sustainable chemistry, sustainable land use, preventive health tech having to do with environmental issues such as air, soil, water. That is the clean tech that we mean. You perhaps say green tech or sustainable technologies, things which make a vocabulary common. So that is particular. So for instance, if you think about water, it's as rainy as in UK. And yet, we do have issues with water because, for instance, if you think about the frozen vegetable industry, which is traveling from our region, for 25% of these frozen vegetables that travel across Europe, they come from Flanders. That's one thing. For instance, the industry which is demanding water, like the chemical cluster, makes that we have aquifers which are dried. Same issues as, for instance, in some parts of India, meaning that we need to be very inventive and creative with water. So when we talk to people about our region, and most of the time it's in Asia, in China, in India, in Middle East, we have some clusters that we present in an active way. So that's what I will be doing now. And it's not that you don't have these specific brilliant technologies, but what I'm doing on this stage is looking for collaborations. Collaborations in whatever sense you think of. It can be we want to sell something to you because you need it in your processor or infrastructure, but it can also be that we say, hey, this is nice, we have something in UK, we have something in mainland Europe, let's join together and do things in Europe or in other regions in the world. So whatever you think is valuable to start or continue discussions in more detail, just remember them and come later. So if you travel from the west side of Flanders to the east side, you think about Ostende, for instance. Here you have the base or the hub, which is called the blue cluster. Blue because it's water, the North Sea, which separates us, which is in fact, if you think global, it's just kind of a river. But okay, we do a lot of things with it. We have windmill parks together, we have wave and tidal energy, sometimes still in pilots or test bases, but it is very important to start to harvest from the sea. If you find collaboration opportunities when listening to that, come and ask me or our colleagues from Flanders Investment and Trade. But we do all kinds of other things. For instance, we do also deep sea harvesting. That means that we are looking in a sustainable way what has this ocean riverbed, if you want, to offer. We have some companies who are doing kind of mining on the sea level in a very sustainable way. And we can work with them because my mother organization is an independent research organization, VITO, which probably some people also heard of. And they can watch over, make sure that things are sustainable. For instance, if you look at some of the companies, DEC, it's a subsidiary from DEME. They are a worldwide dredging company working in Panama, all over the world, but they are inventive and are working, for instance, together with us on deep sea harvesting and finding out what are these new minerals. In fact, it's always the table of Mendeleev, of course, but what are these minerals meaning for the next generation of industry, of everything we want to make from it. Aquaculture, we have a pilot plant which is probably doing the first in the world, the first time ever, the mussel harvesting from the basis of windmill parks. So think about those kind of things. I know that in the most of the presentation, it's one company, next presentation, the other company. What you see here is a lot of companies. They are not all Flemish. Some, for instance, like in these windmill parks, it's Alstom, it's Vestas, all these kind of companies, you know, they're not Belgian, but they have chosen Ostende as well to do the next generation of smart maintenance on these wind energy parks. And that is important. So it's ICT enabled, it's Internet of Things, making sure that if you know already from the condition that 3 windmills will, within this and 3 months, need maintenance, if you know that by having the right sensors and the right monitoring, big data mining on it, that you better wait before going to 1 windmill, then you're very efficient. That's what this cluster of innovative SMEs is doing and is wanting to explore with other countries in the world. How can we make each other even stronger in doing that? Here are also some companies, for instance, the omega bars. It's a fish which we can locally produce in the aquaculture setting. The second cluster is about water. I explained already the pressure which is on water usage, but yet we don't have any problems. We can pull out water whenever we want. That is because our dream, and of the companies that are helping us, is if we have an industrial plant, for instance, we take in water once, and our dream, of course, is to endlessly keep recycling. That needs technologies, high-tech, membranes, advanced membranes, in all kinds, in ceramics that we printed, for instance. And that is what companies are doing in our cluster. How can we make this dream come true of having once water pulled in a factory and then endlessly reuse it? That's what you do probably as well. So how can we build collaboration opportunities together? The third cluster, think about the Port of Ghent. I'm sure some people already visited the brilliant city of Ghent. Who has done that? Look, this is, I don't have to verify it. This is such a nice city. So what you can find in the Port of Ghent is in fact the gateway to mainland Europe for bioeconomy. This means that you can do there your first test pilot setting from 1 liter to 1,000 liter in what we have constructed there, namely bio-based Europe. So if you have a venture and are demanding, questioning, would it work to have this biomass put into energy or a high added value ingredient for the chemistry, for the chemical industry, come and talk to us and we can test it out before you make the industrial scale decision. This is a unique plant in Europe, and the Port of Ghent is built to accept biomass from everywhere in the world. And here you have some companies which are settled there. Taminco now has been taken over by Eastman, so it evolves. My slide has to be adapted. The fourth cluster is Antwerp. The Port of Antwerp, it's world renowned. It's the second largest of Europe after Rotterdam, but it's the heart of the chemical cluster reaching from Antwerp, Rotterdam, Rhine-Ruhr, so it's kind of a banana, making Europe's most important chemical cluster. Chemistry means a lot of pressure. It's a very conventional industry. I've worked for British Petroleum for 13 years, so it's a lot of pressure on doing things well. But yet there are 2 ways of getting the classical sustainable chemistry more, the classical industry more sustainable. First of all, process intensification. Let's make more high added value product out of 1 liter solvents. We do that with concepts like volume intensified dilution, which is a concept of making more pharmaceutical product from 1 liter of solvents. That's the first way. The second way is to make high added value building blocks for the chemical industry, fine chemicals, which are derived from biomass leftovers, waste streams. We don't call waste streams, it's side streams. For instance, lignin from wood. For instance, new polymers from side streams from the sugarcane industry. We have a company, Transference, which is in Dominican Republic, and they have sugarcane. It's first used for making sugar, so no competition with food, and the waste streams are taken to make new polymers which are as sustainable, as stiff, as robust as the classical fossil variant. The fifth cluster is about circular economy. As we don't speak about waste anymore. We cannot afford, we don't have natural resources, and each thing around us, the chair you're sitting on, the building we're sitting in, it's a stock of materials for the future. That's our mindset. We know that we're champion in Belgium and especially in Flanders for recycling, industry and household waste. And of course, we also go further. CO2, you know this, which is a problem, which sounds like the big problem. We try to convert it into high added value building blocks for the chemistry industry. So if you're busy working on these kind of topics, talk to us. Also urban mining, that's the concept, and the insight of everything around us is a mine of the future. The chair is a mine for 10 years. The building is in London, a mine for hundreds of years. But okay, new built buildings are sometimes a mine for 40 years. Is that a sign or so? The last cluster is about energy efficiency for smart cities and smart buildings and smart industries. You see some examples. For instance, Tiger Power. They are made to go to rural areas where is off-grid, no electricity. They enable, with a containerized solution, unfold the solar PV panels, harvest the energy from the sun, store it short-term in batteries, long-term in hydrogen, with power-to-gas concepts. This is also a cluster which is in Europe one of what is called the knowledge and innovation concepts. Then I'm going to talk about an event. If you take the train for 2 hours, 40 minutes, you arrive in Brussels, everything from door to door. And this is an event where you can showcase technologies of the future in front of the United Nations. UNEP, UN Habitat, UNIDO will come to Brussels 28th till 30th of November. Whoever talks to me will have the opportunity to have an exhibition booth, to have kind of a speaker's corner. We borrowed that concept from you here. And we have a moving speaker's corner. And in the main networking area, you can have 10-minute speaking slot, 20 minutes. Nobody else will speak, so you're the talk of the town during 30 minutes, and then starts later a next speaker to talk. So that's the concept. This was last year. We're working with people across the world. For instance, Fiocruz is Brasilia. That's the last slide. And for instance, still China. So all these people are gathering delegations to come to Brussels. Thank you.